Be sure to check out the amazing merch we have on Teespring at P.O.T.N official store. Link provided in the description.
Yeah, you know, it's your boy. Yeah. Alright, listen. I started out on the pavement.
And welcome back to another episode of the P.O.T.N Podcast, a podcast dedicated to all people and inspiring all you listeners to go that one step further in your lives. Today I am joined by a very good guest. He's an old friend and overall good lad. His name is Chris. I'd like to introduce Chris. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, man? Thanks for having me on the P.O.T.N Podcast, man. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And this is your debut podcast episode, the first of many, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Hopefully.
All right, so we'll jump straight into it. I'd like you to tell our listeners, a bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're currently doing at the moment, and what you get up to in your free time.
So I'm technically an international student right now. I'm studying in Canada, in Vancouver, at Simon Fraser University. Been here since 2016 and almost done with my degree, and don't really have a part-time job at the moment because, COVID and all that stuff started happening in 2020. So it was crazy. So yeah, pretty much I've been filling up my time with my full-time hobby, which is making music. I produce, I record, I write, I do it all. I can also edit music if anyone needs that done for them, just hit me up on my Instagram. I'll, link that at the end of the episode. But yeah, man, that's pretty much what I've been doing with my time. I'm from Zimbabwe, born and raised. Shout out to the 263, learned a lot in that place. And, hopefully the goal in the end, after I've made, my millions in the first world, is to go back, settle down there, Nothing beats that African sunset, at the end of the day. I love that. So yeah.
Absolutely, man. We can never lose sight of that because obviously that's the motherland. I really like how you captured everything there. And I know what it's like to be an international student as well, bro. Like, it's quite an interesting exposure. Like, not a lot of people know what it's like, but, firsthand speaking, it's a different world. It's a different world.
Truly, man, truly. Like, also just like the pace, I guess, cause, I come from this place where everything is like, you literally experience every day, one step at a time. But yeah, it's like, yo, even that is not quick enough. Because, things happen so quickly out here, man. It's crazy. But yeah, I guess with time I've sort of, learned the ropes, got my way around the place. And yeah, I'm actually pretty happy now.
Absolutely, man. And happiness is a really, really important thing. And, I'm glad you're in that space, bro. So on that, I'd like you to obviously expand, tell our listeners more about your passion. What do you love most about it?
So I actually got into music, pretty early on. I think it was in like my final years of primary school. So I think I was like in grade 6 or 7. Yeah. I had this friend, his name was, Trevor, and, he had recently just transferred from like another school. And then like he really came in and I would see him like, jotting down ideas and writing stuff in a small notebook. And I asked him like, yo, what is that? And he's like, oh yeah, I write music. Like I want to be a rapper. And I actually found that pretty dope. So, I was like, oh, I think I could also write a rap song. My first song, which will never be discussed or ever released anytime soon, was, I just enjoyed the whole process of it. But yeah, eventually I was like, there's something I might want to get good at, because I was already listening to like a lot of hip hop, a lot of R&B, all that stuff. It was just a matter of time, I guess, because I always had this thing in my mind where I was like, I loved the music that I was hearing, but I felt like I could also compete to a certain extent, so I was like, I want to become as good as the people I'm listening to. I want, the same opportunities they get, to have like hundreds of thousands of people listening to you and what you have to say. And I also found it a good way of, being able to vent or, just express myself, just to whatever I couldn't say face to face or over text, I'll probably put it in a song, so it's always been like my way of releasing like what's inside, so since then I pretty much haven't looked back. I've been doing it for a while. I started actually releasing music, I think, when I came to Canada around 2016, like actively like getting it out like on stores and streaming platforms and stuff. And yeah, man, like, I won't lie, like it's been hard, but it's also been a hell of a ride. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything. So yeah, hopefully in the end it manifests into something great. But yeah, there's beauty in the process too, man. Like I love every day that I'm doing this. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And I'll actually speak it into existence, man. Your music is going to get out there, bro. I guarantee it. Your music, Trevor's music. You guys are producing really, really good music that a lot of people don't know about. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people out there, including the listeners of this podcast, who like discovering new sounds. And I'm pretty sure when they hear yours and Trevor's, they'll forget about all this mumble and all that.
Definitely, man. Like
I'm only joking. All right, so we'll move on to that, and I want to find out more. And who would you say has inspired you and made a positive impact on you?
music wise, like I'll say like the artists I was listening to early on, like 'cause I used to listen to like a lot of mixtapes. Well, early on, I wasn't really listening to like a lot of albums. So people that really like influenced the sound were like the Kendricks, the J Cole, the Lil Waynes. I think the only mainstream artists I was probably listening to were the Jay Z's, the Kanye's, the T.I.'s, and the Eminems. But other than that, I pretty much kept it underground. Like I could list a lot of underground artists that I can probably credit, my sound and, my work ethic to. But the list is too long, man, because I guess, back in the day when when all that was still popping, that's when I was, that's when I was still coming up, still trying to study the game and stuff. So that's why I guess if you hear a lot of my music, I'm not really just trying to say any random thing on a song. I'm really trying to, make it substantial, like, give it substance, give it life, give it meaning. I always felt like, if you're going to say something, make it mean something, So, yeah.
Yeah, bro. You're already lyrically wavering your way through, and the people are catching on to your groove, bro. That's pretty cool, man. And that's very, very important because a lot of the time nowadays, people are just rapping about anything, and it has to be meaningful and it's got to come from the heart, and that's the most important thing because that way, you've got a solid platform to continue on, and you're not just a flash in the pan, like you're in and you're out. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So that's very, very good. And I can see you've already built a foundation for yourself, and it's a rock solid one.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like that's always been the goal. But yeah, it's a slow process, but a process nonetheless, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Joel Embiid said, "Trust the process."
True that. True that.
Yeah. So, what experience would you say you've gone through that has shown you that there's still positivity in the world and in people?
I could list a lot, because in terms of like just me in general, I guess it's pretty much like all the people that I've had the pleasure of encountering like up until this point, like I can literally credit at least, one form of growth that I experienced at any given point to someone. Like when I first got to Canada, let me give like an example. Like I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know the place. It was my first time in the first world. So, everything's just overwhelming and stuff, right? But then, so I literally used to just, stay at my place, at my apartment. And then all I'd do was write music. And then thanks to this, there's this, other Zimbabwean girl that I met. Her name was Rachel. I think we met at church and she heard that, oh, yeah, I do the music thing as well, the hip hop stuff. And then she once came over and she's like, yo, so I heard that, you do this rap stuff. And this was like before I'd even like gotten in front of a mic. It had been like years. I think the last song I had released was probably like at the end of high school. So this was like 2 years prior. And then I was like, oh, so then she came and she's like, oh, I've got this friend of mine. He's also, up and coming, he's also doing this music stuff. And his name was Justin. And thanks to him, actually, she got us in touch. And then, he showed me a few of the things that he does. Like he was making like really crazy beats. Like y'all should check out his music. He goes by Justin Vinyls, I think, on iTunes and Spotify. But yeah, so I got the pleasure of working with him. He was one of the first people I worked with, and I got to Canada, and this guy was like like I thought I was good, but then this guy was doing crazy things. Like he could also produce, and he was already rapping, and then he started showing me like the producing stuff. And I guess it was the selflessness to at least, take me under his wing and show me the ropes, because like it was thanks to him that I actually learned how to produce music as well. So I then, was able to grow from being just a rapper to now trying to become an artist, where I can also not just, write, but also create my own sound. Like I really think that's important as an artist to have like a sound, like to be like, okay, as soon as, because you can almost tell like within like the first 3 or 5 seconds of a song, like if it's from an artist you like, you already know, oh, okay, it's this person or it's that person. So I also want like the same sort of like experience, like the same sort of feeling from my fans and, my supporters and whatever. Like as soon as they hear my music, oh, that's a Zeke song. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I guess in that sense, like I was just always grateful to him because like, he didn't really have to help me out at that time or show me anything, but he really took the time to, he sat down with me. And I also, then it was because of that, also when I see up and coming artists in my area, which there's a lot, whenever they come to me for help or tips and stuff like that, I'm never hesitant to show them the ropes, because I remember what it was like when I was starting out. Like even when I was working at McDonald's, that was my first job when I got here. Literally, when I first got there were people showing me the ropes for months because, that was actually technically my first job too. So then, I never knew what it was like to work like in a team environment and stuff like that. But people took time to show me the ropes. And then when I grew in the company and became like a team leader, I took the time to do the same for the next person. I'm always like, I know what it's like to start out and not know what you're doing. So if I can at least give, whatever keys or whatever tips I have at that time to the next person who's also coming up or trying to do their own thing, I wouldn't hesitate to do so because I know what it's like to start out. And I was, I'm always thankful that, when I was starting out, I had people that would help me out, show me the ropes and do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I'd ask people for features on songs and 90% of them would say yes, like no one would, like when I made my first project, I don't think it's available on iTunes anymore. Well, because of, legal issues. I'll get into that later. But I got a few friends who were like so willing, like literally we recorded that album over like a space of like 3 to 6 months. And to be honest, that's like my favorite body of work in a while. I still listen to that stuff today. And hopefully I'm always just trying to like, obviously sonically it might not have been up to par to where I wanted it to be. But then the process of it all, the people I got to see and meet and work with, like I wouldn't trade it for the world. And that's all just from being, a good person and also having had good people in my life and people to guide me and help me out along the way. So I'm always appreciative of that. And yeah.
Absolutely, bro. And I love how you've highlighted that, when people are also up and coming and they want to like get into it, you're not hesitant of helping out because in that sense, you're breaking the cycle, which is very, very important because a lot of the time, somebody may have something brilliant, but, they don't have a person to go to get that motivation, to get that insight. And then they end up giving up on it, giving up on something that could have really, really made them, happy, fulfilled themselves, given them a really good adventure going forward. And I really like the fact you're looking to break the process because a lot of the time I'm pretty sure you can agree on this, like in places like in the first world you may have an idea and the one person who believes in it is ourselves. So there's very few people around we can go to and say, yo, this is my idea, what do you think? And they're like, oh no, I like it, let's do this, let's do that. A lot of it is quite self-motivated, so a lot of the people need to build up a resilience to get there. And obviously you've built up that resilience and you said, okay, I want to break the cycle as well because it's not fair. You've seen it, you've been through it all. You don't want anyone else to suffer. For me, that's what separates a normal person from an extraordinary person in that sense, because you've recognized it and you're looking to break through and you're looking to make a difference, which is very, very important.
That's so true, man. Like I also see it with you, man. Like I guess it was because of how we grew up, especially like for me, because I think just the culture in Mashingo, like that's the city that I grew up in Zimbabwe. So just like the people and the friends I had there, I always had people always ready to help and willing to help. So I guess, just growing up with that and growing up, with friends like you as well, it was crazy. Like it just made my life that much easier. At whatever point I was at, whenever I needed help, I know I could come to people like you or my other friends and I would always leave with something better. Like it took me a while, but the thing is, like in the first world, you don't really know who's really in it to help you and who's really in it to, get something out of it for themselves and stuff. Because I guess at the end of the day, everyone wants, a piece of the pie. You want someone who would rather help you just to see you, succeed or, like at least better yourself in whatever field or whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to get out there into the world to, put your name or your stamp out there. But you don't want a case where you're dealing with people that have like hidden agendas and stuff or like have these ulterior motives that just don't align with, your work ethic or like your ethos and stuff like that. So it took me a while. Like there were like, in as much as I had people that I was also working with that were helping me out here and there, I also had to be wary of the people who were only trying to work with me to, better their own agendas or to get something for themselves. And yeah, it was a long fought process, but I'm grateful to have gone through that because I was always told like there's no losses in life, only lessons, right? So in that aspect, I guess I got to learn a lot from just, I guess, because putting yourself out there opens you up to all these things, right? You're gonna meet the good, you're gonna meet the bad, you're gonna meet the ugly, but at the end of the day, it's all gonna mold you into, one hell of a person,
Absolutely, man. And that's one sick metaphor, bro. You've taken all three aspects of life, molded it, and, you're super Chris right there, bro. So, the next thing, I'm pretty sure our listeners, would be keen to hear. Can you talk us through, like, how you've overcome challenges you've faced? You've mentioned, like, moving from the 263, aka Zim, to Canada, and any other challenges, you want to talk about, like, how you've overcome those.
I guess my very first challenges actually came because growing up, I was never that person that was always willing to ask for help. Like, I'm always that person that would want to figure it out for themselves. I would literally go like for days trying to figure out something before I actually admit it to myself, before I admit it to someone else that, okay, maybe I might need help. So I guess, one of the first things I had to kind of tackle when I first got here was learning to ask for help, like even if it's like a stranger in the street and being like, oh, I need to get to this place, or I don't know how to do this, or maybe it's in class. And, let's say like a lecturer goes over like a topic that I don't fully understand, and being that person that raises my hand. Like, I never used to be that person. I used to be like, I guess I'll wait until the end of the class to go to the teacher and be like, oh, so I didn't get this, or maybe even send an email. I don't know. Cause at heart, I was sort of introverted in a way. So I never used to like speaking up a lot, especially like in front of like a lot of people and stuff. So even like when I started, because I think I performed my first show as well here in 2017. One of my good friends he goes by Biggie BK. You can find his music on Apple Music and Spotify. He took me out to my first show. It was actually like a show for his record label, and we had a featured song together. He had a song on my first album, and I also had one or two songs on his project. So I guess also public speaking was another thing that I had to, overcome. And like how I tried to go about it the first time wasn't the best way possible, because I kind of resorted to, a lot of substance abuse to try and get like what they call liquid courage, I guess, just to get that confidence to speak up in front of like a large group of people, or just to speak up in general. Like, I found that I was more talkative when I was, under the influence and stuff. So it was good, but then, at the same time, it was sending me down this destructive pattern. So I guess one of the first things I had to learn to overcome was just, learning to speak out, being able to be myself without needing the extras, and the stuff on the side to help that. So, and also learning to ask for help, like that really helped me get into a lot of doors I don't think I would have otherwise gotten into since I got here. It's always a good thing to know when to ask for help. I was always told that, that's what separates the good people from the great, like you don't always have to do it yourself. Like, it's always good to say, oh yeah, I did it all alone or whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel like in life, it's about, who you get to share these experiences with. Because if the only other person you're working with is yourself, and you're only doing it for yourself or by yourself, I feel like it won't be as fulfilling. Because when I make music, I'm not just trying to do this for myself. I'm trying to show someone, like maybe it's a kid somewhere in Zimbabwe who's probably thinking like, yo, is it possible for us to, have our voices heard out there? Is it possible for me to make music and, still make it out, or do things like that? Is it possible for me to go to school and, still make it out, or find something that I love? And I just try and do my best to show them that yes, you can, but you can't do it alone. Because literally at every step of the way since I've gotten here, I can't say I've worked alone, whether it's music, whether it's school and stuff like that. I've had to reach out to people. A lot of stuff, yeah, I tried to just do by myself in the beginning, but then, it's a slower route, let me say, because you're trying to master all these things all at once, and you just won't get to where you want to get to in time. Or by the time you get there, probably the world has moved on without you, or like life has just gone on without you, and you don't want that, I feel like, building relationships and what people call networking is very good, because that way you also get to share in someone else's vision. You get to gain another perspective that you might not have otherwise gotten working alone, So that's one of the things that I would say really helps, like reaching out. Don't be scared to, to ask for help when you need it. So I learned that early on, and it's really helped me in my time here, like moving here, yeah, it's been great.
Absolutely, man. And I like how you've painted a perfect picture there of how reaching out to people can also help you overcome challenges, because getting that extra insight and support, it helps you see things a whole lot different. And then you also start looking at things differently. Like, I have this saying, I've said it on previous episodes, but like, you go from being one dimensional to becoming multi-dimensional because you're gaining new insights every day, and very soon you'll have a 360 approach to everything. And whenever you encounter anything, you're always going to be like, actually, let me think. And you're going to have all these solutions pop in your brain because you're so used to you've learned different ways of approaching challenges or situations in your life, and it's important.
Nah, definitely, man. That's all facts, man. I found it to be true here, man. Like, it's about growing, right? Like, because at the end of the day, you want to be like, yeah, all-rounded person, in everything. So your only way you're going to grow is by, like, as you said, gaining that 360, that multi-dimensional perspective, I guess that's the end goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. So, what would you say? Obviously, you've mentioned, your journey through music and the people you've met who've helped you get to the next level, and obviously in those moments we have trials and tribulations. So, what would you say to our listeners is the most important thing or the most valuable thing about failure?
I would say, although I actually only recently learned this lesson, is like to stop looking at like the downfalls and the shortcomings as failures. Like I was told to always find, like it was a recent lesson I learned, but someone said to me like, always look for the lessons in the failures. So like you're going to mess up like every now and then, but how you're going to get better from that is identifying exactly what it is, or not maybe exactly what it is, but like the few things that you could have done better. Because obviously when you fall or when you fail, it's because something went wrong, right? So you want to see first of all, like, is it something that you yourself could have changed? Is there something that you could have done? I was taught like, okay, always look for the lesson and the failure, because that's how you grow. If you just take the failures and like, okay, fine, let me start this, let me try again and see what happens. And you don't really sit down to think like, okay, fine, maybe if I try to do this thing better or that thing better, you're just going to be making the same mistakes over and over again. So be very critical of yourself. And also, I feel like it's also about the company you keep, like you want people who are not afraid to tell you when you're messing up. Because I was told, like, if two or more people tell you the exact same thing, it's probably true. So if you get two or more people that you trust that can give you feedback and they more or less outline the same problem in like whatever your work or whatever you're doing, then maybe that's something you might want to revisit. Like it might still be untrue, but the chances are unlikely. So always be looking for the lessons in the wins and in the losses. Like just always be looking for, okay, fine. Like if you do something great, you're like, okay, fine. How did I do this? What exactly did I do right in this situation? Or if you mess up or if you fall and you're like, okay, fine. What did I do wrong here? What can I improve? So that's the one thing that I think I've been trying to get better at. I'm still not perfect at it because, especially like with things like music, you really don't like a lot of people having an opinion because you feel like it might change or taint the sound. And, as an artist, you kind of like always want to be like, no, I get creative license because, it's my music. You want to make good music at the end of the day. You want something that's on top of being good has also some good replay value. So maybe, like give you an example, like my roommate, actually, his name is Masimba. He once gave me this tip like a few months back, and I won't lie, it's really changed the way I write music. He's like, yo, and when you're writing your music, don't just try use like one monotonous tone, try and, switch up the flows, maybe use this sort of rhyme scheme and then maybe change up that rhyme scheme here and there, or the complete delivery or whatever, but always be looking for the small intricate things that you can change up. And to be honest, since then, that's pretty much been like what I've shaped my sort of comeback around, because like the last time I released music was like back in 2018, and it's only in 2020 that I've actually gotten back in front of the mic. I guess I've not got the time for it because of COVID and stuff. And these are all these little things that I'm paying attention to and trying to fix or trying to, improve on in my sound. And it's helped a lot. So always be willing to, receive feedback and look for the lessons and the mistakes.
Absolutely, man. I agree with you there. It's a process in itself, like you highlighted earlier, and you're gonna get feedback, and it's about being open to that feedback as well, taking on what people are saying. And if, like you said, if more than two or three people are saying the same thing, then yeah, it's something that you can improve as well. Like I think a lot of the time when people hear feedback, it's not the be all and end all. It's somebody who cares, if they do, giving their insight on what you're working on and how you can get better at it. it. So it's always food for thought on how you can get better as a person.
Nah, definitely. Like exactly like what you just said, getting people that care who give you feedback. Because also you don't want to just take feedback from anyone. Make sure that the person who's actually giving the feedback has your best intentions at heart, you know. So also don't just take feedback from people who tell you, oh, you're doing this thing wrong. Take advice from someone who will tell you, no, you're doing this thing wrong, but maybe if you tried this, then maybe that would help. So not someone who's just always criticizing, but someone who can also critique and, you know, also help, like give feedback, like actual substantial feedback, you know, to the process, you know, something that will help. That's invaluable to me.
Absolutely, man. No, I agree. It's what you can take from that can help you drive forward, and that's the most important thing in those kind of situations. And and I agree with you as well. Like I think with COVID coming around, it's been bad, and at the same time, it's also been a blessing in disguise because me and you both have actually had a chance to look at ourselves, look at things we want to learn, get back into things we weren't working on before COVID like happened. And in a way, it's helped us like keep track of all our other interests and passions as well, because I think what was going on in the world before that, we're a bit distracted and we put things on the back burner. But when COVID came around, it gave us an opportunity to say, okay, what haven't I done that I want to do, and start setting yourself like mini targets and some goals to help you get back into it. And then you'll find a way to incorporate what you've left behind to what you were working on before, and you join that and you've got something special going forward.
Nah, definitely, man. 100%, bro. Like, because you said it was really like a blessing in disguise. I guess, having all this time to yourself, you just start to, because like, I won't lie, like if it wasn't for COVID, I probably wouldn't have gotten like back into my groove of trying to make music, because I don't know, like just, the whole trying to focus on school and also, whatever job or part-time job people be trying to hold down at the same time, you barely leave any time at the end for yourself, for things that you want to do, and I feel like it's really important, and I'm not saying that neglect like your obligations and your duties, or if you're like a student, don't dedicate too much time studying. No, do all that, but then also remember that you have your own interests, you have things that you love. And the one thing that I really wish to change about how certain, like, I guess I'm not saying like everybody, but like how some people live their lives, is that how I got into the music wasn't because I wanted to make a buck or monetize this in any way possible. Like I only learned about monetizing like my music when I got here. When I first started making the music, it was really just for me to hear back or for me to tell my friends about, like literally, I think my scene was literally SoundCloud and that Piff, like I was only about the mixtapes and the underground artists and stuff like that, because I felt like, that sort of sound is untainted and is unique. So my thing is like, I want the same for like the next generation, or even like the next person, not even the next generation. It could be someone from our current generation, but then who's just, holding back, from whatever interests them, because they're like, oh, it might not make me any money, or I won't get any return from it. But I want to change that. Like, I want people to, do things because, they just genuinely love them. Like, even if you're not even the best at it, don't let someone tell you that you can't do something because you're not good at it, right? Because the difference between you being bad at it and you being good at it is time, repetition. Like, literally, everyone who picked up a pen wasn't the best writer when they first. Okay, I won't say that, but I can attest maybe like a lot of people who picked up the pen on their first try weren't good writers, but now look at them and what separated them from the rest, that was just practice. But also, don't just pick up the pen because you're seeing like dollar signs at the end of the road. Pick up the pen because, you actually have something you might want to say, or something like you just have like a passion for writing or drawing or speaking, or it could be any number of 100 things, or, but I just want people to just do things that they love, because I really love what I do. Like I spend days and nights working on my music, but it never feels like work because it's something that I enjoy. It's something that I love, I tell my friends about it, I tell my family about it. And, coming from Zimbabwe, telling your parents that, oh, by the way, I'm a rapper or whatever like that. It's always like an awkward conversation to have. But, I was blessed to, have very understanding parents. They're like, oh yeah, as long as you're still, focus on the school thing and stuff. You can do whatever you want with your hobby. And you do then get a quick buck out of it, or whatever the case may be, then, that's good for you and stuff. So yeah, I just want people to start doing things not for others or not because they want to make money, but because, they just love it.
Absolutely, man. I can't disagree with that. Like, you have to invest in yourself, and it's about courage of jumping into the unknown that sets you apart. Because I think, a lot of the things we have today, whether it's social media, the podcast platform we're using to record today, the likes of Spotify and stuff like that, Amazon, they wouldn't have happened if the people who created them, were just like, "Oh, okay, I'll just leave it. I'm not even going to try." They were like, I'm going to try something and I'm going to see where it takes me. So it's important for us to believe in what we want to do and not give up on it just because somebody else has said something different.
Exactly. That's true, man. That's true.
Absolutely, bro. So, with that, what would you say excites you about the future going forward?
I guess what excites me is that I actually don't know what to expect. Like, it's one of those, like, it's like I'm sowing all these seeds for myself. I'm trying to put myself in like a very good position, whether it be, academically or in terms of work or in terms of the music and stuff like that. I'm just sowing all these little seeds, and I guess it's just the whole, I don't know what could happen, but like, I'm excited because I'm like, oh, I've been putting in all this work in whatever I'm doing, and to see how it's going to manifest is what's really driving me, because I'm like, okay, I think I put in a substantial amount of work in everything that I do, a substantial amount of effort. So it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, so I don't really know what's going to happen, but based off of the work I've put in and the time I've put in, literally sky is the limit, so it's one of those, like, I don't know what to expect, but then that's where I find the excitement in it all. I'm just like, if the music thing gains traction, because I do have like a following right now, maybe a couple hundred people. Imagine like at the end of the year, what it's going to be, next year, what it's going to be, like, it's one of those things, because I'm like, I know I'm going to continue pushing forward and I'm only going to be getting better. So as I get better, the crowds that I'll be attracting, investors or whatever the case may be, that I'll be, attracting to, like, with the sound or with the work ethic or whatever, that's what excites me. Like, I don't know who I'm going to meet or what I'm going to be doing, but I guess that's the beauty in it. Like, you don't know what's going to happen next until, you get there. I try not to think too much about what I'm going to gain out of it, but kind of like, am I happy with the moves I'm making now? Do I think that they're going to put me in a better position? And the answer these days is most, like 90% of the time, is going to be yes, so I guess that's what I'm really enjoying right now.
Exactly, man. And you got to keep at it. It's what's going to get you there in the end, that resilience. And I like how, you've got optimistic and a positive outlook, obviously, going forward, which is going to take you far, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to take you far. And, I can't wait to see you flourish and see where you get, man. And, hopefully all things work out. I could be, attend your shows, be in the six as well, and continue this. When I started it, it was just a simple, like, an idea. And now it's obviously growing and I'm seeing that I can do a lot more with it. So I'm excited to see where it takes me, man.
No, 100%, man. Like, 'cause I could just tell, like, something was going to happen, because, like, the conversations me and you were having on the side prior to all this beginning, like, I could just tell, like, we both have that sort of drive that's going to take us really far, man. Like, I'm just so excited to see where we both end up, man. But, definitely, man, if you pull up a lot of my shows, you're getting that VIP pass, man. All access, man. It's going to be crazy, man. You're going to be right up there with me, man.
Jeez. Exactly, man. We struggle through the, what was the saying called? Because they were like, the people you starve with or the people you eat with, that kind of a thing. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know I know what you're getting at.
Right. Okay. So, with that, man, what would you say helps you stay focused when you're on the grind, when you're completing activities and tasks?
It's something I've also recently started, because like, I used to be that person that used to like just try go off like muscle memory and stuff. But then I've learned like writing your goals down and stuff, like literally just put it down. Like, even if it's a note on your phone or on your laptop or like a physical paper that you're writing on, just put it up there. If it's a calendar where you're telling yourself, okay, fine, I want to achieve this thing in so many days, just stick it up there, just put it up there and just tell yourself, okay, fine, that's the goal, that's the deadline, and I guess accountability. I try and, keep the people in my circles like updated with what I'm doing, like I don't like telling a lot of people about my moves, but then like the necessary people, I always like try and inform them about what I'm doing, because I feel like accountability also helps, with pushing you forward, because let's say like even if it was also not too long ago, like a year ago or so, where I started a weight loss goal, because like your boy had gained some weight and I wasn't really, liking the structure of how I looked and stuff. So I just kind of, told a few people like, oh, I want to lose weight, or I want to do this. And, eventually they just start to ask you every now and then. They'll be like, oh, so how's that going? Or how's this going? Or are you still doing that? Or are you still doing this, But yeah, if you know that it's hard for you to keep yourself accountable, then have someone else, like your close friend, someone will have your best intentions at heart, have them keep you accountable, or just write it down, like literally. Like it sounds so tedious or whatever, but trust me, it goes a long way. Because when you look back, and also I guess the best feeling is like when you now look back and you're like, wow, I really wrote this stuff down like months ago, weeks ago, and look at where I'm at now. I'm exactly where I thought I would be. Like it's always like that mini victory, like that small fist pump. They just go like, yeah. I love those moments, man. It's crazy.
Exactly, man. Yeah. For me as well, you're not the only one I've gained weight as well, man. I think it's one of those where it's a lesson in itself. I think, and like you said, accountability is important. So 2015, was it 2015? Yeah, 2015 was madness, man. 2015 summer, I was eating, bro. I was eating like crazy, man. And then I ended up developing a belly, and ever since then, man, I can't even lose it. So it's a bit mad.
Yeah, no, I know the feeling, man. That was, I think, 2015 as well for me. I think that was the year that I was waiting to go to uni. So I was literally just at home 24/7. I wasn't doing anything, and all I had time for was food, man. Literally have breakfast. You're like, oh, let me have a snack. And then you're like, oh, let me have lunch. Or, oh, let me have another snack. Or let me have like a pre-dinner snack. Oh, let me have dinner. Then, oh, let me have a midnight snack. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just had too much time in my hands, man. But damn.
Oh man, let's push on. So, the next question, I'd like to ask, so our listeners probably curious to know, obviously with the music and, balancing your studies and, the part-time job, that can have a lot of stress that comes into your life, man. And, I want to know, how you handle that stress.
How I handle stress. Like I really try, and because the thing is, like I wasn't really like an outgoing person when I first got here, so I always just try and challenge myself every now and then. Like, oh, okay, maybe try visit a few places. Like even if it's like locally or whatever. Like the past 2 years that I've actually realized how big the province of British Columbia is, because like I stay in Vancouver, right? And to me, for like the first 2 or 3 years of my studies, I always just thought like, oh, this is it, this is the city, But then, wow. My friends just started dragging me around, and they're like, yo, let's go see this place. So like we actually just came back from this place called Whistler. It's like this nice place. It's got nice views, nice mountains. It has waterfalls and stuff, and there's so many activities like bungee jumping, zip lining. There's even helicopter ride. I had never known about this up until like recently, and it was actually my roommate who put me onto that, and it was pretty dope. Like, so I guess how I try and de-stress is like I always challenge myself to try something new, just forget about all the stresses in your life. Just go out there and, just try out a new experience, and I try to listen to music outside of the normal genres that I would listen to. You might even find me listening to like some classical music sometime, you never know. But yeah, I just try and dive into like, so I guess it's always just like maybe trying out new things every now and then. That's how I kind of de-stress in a way, because I guess in that way I stop thinking about whatever problems I'm facing, and I'm just kind of focused on, learning this new thing or seeing this new place or whatever. But yeah, just trying out new things. Oh, well, because I also have a girlfriend actually, so I guess that also helps with the de-stressing, someone to talk to about whatever you're going through and stuff, just having like, even if it's not going to be like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatnot, just having like a trustee, like a confidant, someone you can just, like unload everything. That's one thing that I've really seen has helped me a lot. Just having someone who I can really completely like trust and talk to say, oh, so my day was like, when people ask you, oh yeah, man, how are you doing? How's your day? Oh, just fine. Yeah, just, the usual. But then, they always like those small details that you might not want to bring up. I don't know how other people, you might not know like how other people will judge or react or whatever. So you're just like, oh, okay, I'll just keep it to myself. But I feel like slowly that stuff starts to build up. And then that coupled with the stress stress and stuff, yeah, it can be very toxic at the end. So just have like a trustee or a confidant or someone. I have a girlfriend. I'm grateful for that. So, so one of those things, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, that and trying out new experiences is pretty much how I try and de-stress. So I might, also smoke here and there, but yeah, I guess, you know, but other than that, yeah, man. Oh yeah, and I'm also like wine connoisseur as well. Like, I like having me a glass of wine here and there. But yeah, other than that, I try and remain spiritual to a certain extent. I won't lie and say I go to church every weekend and stuff. But yeah, once in a while when I do go, that helps too, Just knowing that at least I'm not the only one with problems and not the only one who's also trying to get help from others and, maybe from like, a higher being. Yeah, it's always good to also be spiritual and stuff. It helps.
Absolutely, man. Glory be to the Most High. And I like how you alluded to experiencing new things is important because it can help you find, new ways of tackling, situations. And, that outlet, having an outlet for what you have is really, really important because you can't let it build up because once it builds up inside, it can destroy you from the inside out. It's always good to have an outlet, for what you have on your chest. And like you said, have somebody you can go to and talk to and have somebody like who wants to listen as well. Because, that's very, very important. Because, the next time you may think, oh, nobody would really want to listen, but you find somebody who does, and then you can always go to that person. So yeah, man, now that's very good. We count these blessings. They help us going forward. And that's really, really important. So on that, man. So what would you say are your like strongest qualities? Obviously, I know you're a hardworking guy. You're determined, all of that stuff. But for the listeners' benefit, talk us through your strongest qualities.
My strongest qualities. For me, endurance is a big factor for me. So it's like just trying not to give up at the first sign of trouble or whatever, just trying to push through. Like, when I started out my journey working out and stuff, like, at first I would probably only be able to keep running for maybe like 10, 15 minutes of a 30-minute jog, and I'm like, then it's one of those things. So, but then, each day I'd come back, I'll be like, okay, so yesterday I only managed to run for like a total of 15 and I walked the other half. So maybe today I want to push for maybe 5 minutes extra. Then the next day, 10 minutes extra or 15 minutes extra. So it's always just, I like enduring something. I just really like pushing myself like through the pain or the hardship. I'm just like, I see it through. If you don't like the result, once you get there, at least you can tell yourself, I got there. So that's one thing that I feel like is a strong suit for me. And another one is I feel like I'm pretty creative because not just like in the music, but then like just like coming up with ideas can put me like in most rooms where an idea is required and stuff. And I feel like I could always like 90% of the time I'll come up with at least one good idea. Like I'll throw out maybe like 100 of them and maybe only one will stick, but that one will be a really dope one. I find that to be also another strong suit of mine. And I'm a very welcoming person. So I feel like that's a strength in itself because like that allows me to get in the room with a lot of people that I might not have otherwise gotten in the room with, or I get to go to places that I might not have otherwise had the chance to go to, because I always just try to be nice and friendly to pretty much everyone I encounter, everyone I meet, because like growing up, my mom always told me like, you'll never know what this person could do for you, maybe not today or tomorrow or 5 years from now. So, it costs nothing to be a good person, so I'm always down to have a conversation with anyone, or just, try to break the ice with, if it's like one of those situations like we were meeting for the first time or hanging out for the first time or I'm in a place for the first time. I always just try and say what's up or make a few friends in like, the first 24, 48 hours or whatever. But yeah, I feel like that's a superpower in itself, just the ability to reach out and talk. So yeah, that coupled in with the endurance and the creativity, I guess, has pushed me as far as I've come so far. Just be a good person, stay creative, and push through.
Absolutely, man. Those are really good qualities and they really do keep you grounded because the fact that you can now network and that's something you've developed, over the last 4 or so years. So, you've developed that and it helps you network and you never know who, you're speaking to and what they could do. Like what your mom just said, man, she dropped some gems, bro. She dropped some gems. So it helps as well because you never know down the line, you might get call or text and, they're coming through with a major assist. So that's going to be major. That's going to help you a long, long way. and I can't refute that. So yeah.
Nah, definitely, bro. Like, yeah, it's worked so far. So clearly, I have no complaints.
Absolutely, keep it going, bro. That's what I'll say to you, man. Keep it going, bro. And on that, man, is there anything new you want to learn and pick up?
Well, in terms of like picking up a hobby, I want to learn how to actually do photography because I've always been like a fan of pictures and just visual art in general. But then I don't really know my way around a camera too well. But I see a lot of my friends, it's like almost like they pick up a camera and they automatically know what to do with it. I'm like, wow, I pick up a camera, I don't even know what half the functions do and stuff. But that's something you want to learn. And I want to learn how to, do like trading and stuff as well, because I feel like that's a revenue stream that's really unexplored, especially like, I guess, coming from like an African country or Zimbabwe in general. Like, people are very skeptic about investments and stuff because people are always just looking out for themselves first and foremost. So it's kind of like, why should I take that risk? Like, what do I gain from that? But that's something I really want to get into. I was actually thinking about taking a course on like a business course that could help me out with that. I think one of my friends referred me to like a course I can take at SFU. So that's something I want to look into as well. But and also want to learn how to play the piano. Like, I once started like getting piano lessons. This was like in grade 3 or grade 4. And I don't know, I think I only took it for like a term, which is like about 4 months or so. And then I kind of gave it up. But then now the ironic part is that now I'm here, doing the music thing and I can barely play the piano. Like, literally I have to bang on every key before I find which one I want to use in a song and stuff. So that's something I'm hoping to pick up, over time. Like, I want to get myself a small keyboard and then hopefully with time that can turn into a grand piano. But yeah, man, I think that's my favorite instrument of all time. But ironically, I don't know how to play it. I had the chance to, but yeah, I guess I gave up a little too quick back then. So yeah, that's one regret I hope to rectify.
Yeah, exactly, man. And like you said, you've learned from a past experience and you're more open to it now. So that's always going to push you forward as you learn the piano, as you pick up photography. I'm actually curious to see, how well you do it, because at some point for my brand and stuff, like I want to do some shoot. And believe me, I think you may have seen on Instagram or me trying to do model poses and I can't do that. So it's something that I want to learn as well. So it will be interesting, man, if we can get into a space where we can complement each other's skills and stuff, and that would be ultimate synergy right there, because we're complementing what we do and helping each other here and there, and then that's what helping us get even better and better and better.
No, definitely 100%, man.
Right. On that, man, in closing, what inspiring words would you tell our listeners who are looking to improve themselves?
I'll tell you like one thing that I think really stuck with me. It was like, I was told in life, just find that one thing you love and let it kill you. So like, literally dedicate your whole being to making sure that this thing manifests in real life. Because at the end of the day, you could do it too. That's really something that stuck with me. Those two phrases, like find what you love and let it kill you, and you could do it too. Yeah, those things really stuck with me. Yeah. So I'll just tell you now, if you're gonna do anything in life, make sure you're giving it the maximum push, 100. Like, don't let anyone try to steer you off the path, but then also don't be, ignorant and refuse to listen to advice. But at the end of the day, and just try not to pay attention to what the next person is doing, because, you don't know how long they've been doing it for, or, how they got into it. You don't know their story, but you know yours and you know where you're starting. I know it's always a challenge. Like, my first challenge was like, I think I explained it to you, like at the beginning, like when I said I met up with like this guy who got me into recording when I first got here to Canada. In a way, I was sort of envious because I was like, this guy is so good. And he said he had started doing all this when he was like 12 or 13. And he was like, 19 by the time I met up with him. So he'd been doing it for like about 6 years. So he had that head start ahead of me and he was already that good. So then I started being overcritical of myself. I was like, wow, if he can do it, and we're pretty much the same age, but then I barely even know where to start or what I'm doing. So I used to beat myself up about that. But at the end of the day, it's your journey, try not to focus on what the next person is doing, because, there's so much room at the top for everybody to it. It's not just going to be you or them. It can be both of you, or it can be everybody. They say that there's a 1 in a million chance that you're going to make it, But I'll tell you this now, 75 million people is still only 1% of the population. Is that correct? I don't know if my numbers are correct, but, but yeah, the grand scheme of things is, there's a lot of room at the top. So try not to focus on what everyone else is doing. Just focus on bettering yourself. So literally your only competition should be who you were yesterday. That's all I'll tell you. Find what you love and let it kill you. Don't focus on what the next person is doing. It's your story, not theirs. Okay? Yeah, that's it.
Word, man. That's some beautiful stuff in there, man. And you've literally taken a lot of metaphors and turned them into like a lot of relatable things. For me, it's been an eye opener, man. And, thank you for coming on and sharing your story, man. I'm hoping a lot of our listeners, listening in, find inspiration from what you said.
No, definitely, man. Thanks for having me, man. Like, for those that might not know, this is actually the first time I'm doing a podcast. I was pretty nervous getting into that, but, my boy just made it so comfortable for me, man. Like, it's been good talking to you, man. And, just, having a casual conversation, man, doesn't even feel like we're doing this, for a podcast or anything. It's just like, we're just bouncing off ideas, talking about our lives and, where we're at and what we're planning on doing. I just think it's, it's all a beautiful process, man. So thank you for having me here, man. I'm really glad to be part of the P.O.T.N Podcast.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a great episode. Well, that's all for today's episode of the P.O.T.N Podcast. Thank you all for listening in and reaching the end of the show. I'd like to thank my boy Chris for coming onto the show. Thank you for joining me, Chris.
No, thanks for having me. Like, I'm glad to be a part of this, man. And I hope to see this P.O.T.N Podcast, blow up, because damn, you're really making the moves, man. I'm glad to be a part of it. Glad to be there in the beginning. Hopefully I'm there in the end too, And shout out to you, Takura. For those that are wondering, if you want to listen to my music, you can find it. There's a link on my Instagram page. My Instagram is at Zeke_143. That's ZEEK. My Twitter handle is the same. All my links are there. And I also have some new music coming out soon. I'm actually hoping that my boy previews it at the end of this episode. Hope to give you guys a sneak peek. It's going to be dropping soon. It's called Basement. It's a song that I worked on with me and a couple of my friends. It's been a whole team effort. I love it. Hopefully it blows up. And yeah, man, just glad to be a part of this podcast. Thanks so much for having me, man.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, thank you for joining. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Until the next time, be well and take care. Thank you for listening.
Alright, listen. I started out on the pavement. Bet you thought I wouldn't make it. Wondering why you ain't did it? Cause you only working that day shift. Yeah, success is contagious. We winners on regular basis. A lot of y'all getting mad, huh? Like how we do it from the basement. I ain't been getting no sleep, lately I'm playing for keeps, lately I'm out on these streets. Been talking to God, he said it's my season, ain't no sleep for the week. Gotta get bread, can't aim for the week. Gotta get cake, can't aim for the cream. Long term, that's mine for the week.
Music by Zeke.